I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away. This is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's be free Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts.
Yay! How's that? Gotta get down with the music, right? Hey everybody, I'm Elena Anderson. Hopefully you saw my video, which was for this card. I'm backwards. The pop-up card, as you can see there. I have my dog sitting on my lap because it is thundering like crazy outside. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and he's very scared of thunder. So hopefully you won't hear too much of it, but you might. So just be aware of that. So there are bonus sentiments. Hopefully you got those that you can get off my website that turn this card into like different kinds of cards than just the birthday version. And I wanted to show you what I did yesterday for my niece's graduation. So her school colors are burgundy, gray, and white. So I used the congrats, and then on the inside, I did You're a Star sentiment, and then I did Class of 2023. That's using the sports font that you can get on Creative Fabrica. So that's how there's just an example of how you can change it up and make it completely different. So here's the other one. Here's the original. And here's graduation. So it's pretty flexible. And, you know, looks completely different, but still really fun, in my opinion. I don't know. And then hopefully you got the envelope that comes with the little balloon cutout. Oh, I saw a question there for a second. Sheila asks, have you noticed in a couple of card classes that when they are doing the score line, it is red? Do you know how to do the score line so it is always red? I know how to do it so that it is a color. Unfortunately, for some reason, I design SVGs in Illustrator, and I have noticed sometimes when, even though they are red, when I export them as an SVG from Illustrator, when they come into Design Space, they are not always showing as red. Sometimes when you click on them and you look at the fill color box, it will show red, but for some reason on the screen, they are not obviously red. So I understand why that's helpful. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's something in Illustrator that I need to do, but I have done that. Just doesn't always show up, unfortunately, in Cricut Design Space. But usually they're not too hard to tell apart from the rest because I group them with the card. Sandy asks, are the confetti parts of your design small enough to use for shaker bits? I think they might actually be too small for shaker bits, especially out of that lighter weight cardstock, like the swirly parts, or these guys. Those will probably just fold over and become mush as a shaker component. You might be able to use like some of the little confetti pieces and the circles, but I would not try using these just because I think they will get squished amongst other elements in a shaker card, just because you're using a pretty, like as I recommended, you're using a lighter weight cardstock to cut out like these really intricate little designs. So I don't know if those would hold up long term in a shaker card, unfortunately, especially if you're going to mix them with things that are a lot heavier, like sequins or that kind of thing. I don't know. Belinda, such a great card and wonderful instructions in your presentation. I can't see myself doing all that confetti like you did, though. Do you think it could be done with iron-on vinyl? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the only issue would be the confetti pieces come out of the panels from the front. So you'd have to cut the whole panel out of the vinyl. And I don't think you could really use that on the front. You might be able to use like one piece, but I think you need to have like some paper on the front just to get it all lined up correctly and everything. Hard to say. But you could definitely do like all the little pieces for sure, you know, with iron on. Or you can leave them off. You don't have to do all that too. Oh, and thanks for the bonus sentiments. Would you use those on the outside or inside? So, okay, got it. So the ones that are just like one word are designed for the outside, and then the two that are like your sentiments, those are for the inside. I mean, you can mix it up however you want to do it, but that was how what I had in mind when I made those. And I'm going to show my graduation card again because I'm very proud of it. So here's how I used one of the bonus sentiments. So I have congrats and you're a star. This is for my niece who's graduating from high school this year. So I had to make that for her and use her school colors. So there's an alternate way. Those are the alternate sentiments that you can download. One set of them anyway. Betsy asks, what font did I use for the Celebrate and It's Your Birthday? Oh boy. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can find out and I will answer that question afterwards in the comments, because I don't remember. It's a fun font. I can figure it out. I know I will just go into the Illustrator file and I can tell you that way, but I can't do that right now, unfortunately. But yeah, and it is, and so it's not necessarily, they don't just come out necessarily typed out like this. I've done a lot of like tweaking of the positioning of the letters on some of it. So just having the font may not totally mirror it, but it'll be close. So yeah, like give me a few hours to figure that question out, but good question. And that was, yeah, I think you understand why I used that font now, because it was really super fun and kind of wacky. Shelly says, cue card. Well, thanks. Are any of those cuts free on Design Space? I'm especially interested in the card base. I don't have anything on Design Space, unfortunately. The card base obviously comes with the freebie file download, so hopefully you can download that. That is the first pop-up card that I've designed, so I don't have any additional pop-up card things to share. But hopefully you can get that free card base in the design file and then kind of tweak it depending on how you want to make pop-up cards, because you could stretch them out or resize them. And then it'll kind of show you how you do the stair-stepping effect, hopefully, just by looking at the cut lines versus the score lines on the card base itself. Hopefully. I'm sure there are other people who have card bases available that they share on Design Space. I do a search of some kind, like for pop-up cards or pop-up card bases, that kind of thing. Anything else? Okay. What's my doggo's name? His name is Django, like Django Unchained, the movie, or Django Reinhardt, the musician. My husband is a part-time musician, so he's a teacher full-time, but he's a big music person, so that's who he came up with the name. We got him from a shelter, and he was originally named Clyde, which was weird. Not a good name for him. He's got a lot more personality than a Clyde. Well, I don't know. That's probably not fair, but he didn't seem like a Clyde to us. Let's see. No, he's all weirded out by being held up. And he's an old guy. He's 12. So he's my sweet buddy. We are each other's emotional support animal. And the thunder is quieting down, so looks like the rain is stopping, so we won't have to worry about that too much longer, I don't think. So my windows over here. And just, Eve, is this okay with Cricut Joy? You can cut everything on it with the Cricut Joy except for the card base. The card base is too big to be cut with the Joy, unfortunately. And I wanted to mention, I am having a summit for just Cricut Joy users in July. So it is called Create with Cricut Joy. It will be July 13th through the 16th. As you can see my Joy over here. The Joy is actually my favorite cutting machine. So I really want to show people all the fun things you can do with the Joy. So if you're interested in that, if you have a Joy and you want to learn more about it, go to createwithcricutjoy.com and you can sign up for the wait list right now. And registration will open June 29th. And the summit itself is July 13th through the 16th. So Cricut Joy users, you should join us. And Brandy will be there. she's a speaker for me. And also, you don't have to just be a Joy user. I mean, the projects will be sized for the Joy, but if you have an Explorer or a Maker series machine, everything you can do on the Joy, you can also do on those machines too. So it'll just be smaller projects, but you can always size them up in Cricut Design Space if you want to make larger versions with your larger machine too. I am kind of Joan asks, hopefully I'm saying that right, Joan. I was a little confused on the green and gold layers for the outside of the card. Why so many different colors? Well, okay, let me pull it up here. So I'm not sure you can tell. But okay, so there's the green is on the top, and then the gold is showing through the green, and then below that is the pink. So the reason for the two layers was to get the multicolored effect on the front of the card. There, you can kind of see it there, probably a little better. Does that make sense? Because like the top layer has everything cut out of it, and then the second layer only has some of the things cut out of it, so that you see the pink through the back, the pink of the card base. So then you just layer them together to get that multicolored effect. Now, you certainly don't have to cut both layers of that. You could just cut the top layer and just have that on top of your card base. Then you'll just have one color of confetti, but you know, that's fine too. So totally up to you. Make it your own for sure. Hopefully that answers that question. I do a lot of those layered cards. So where you just layer them one on top of each other. Melinda, the summer might convince me to get the Joy. You never know, it might. When I originally bought the Joy, I thought it was kind of dumb because I was like, why am I doing this? You know? But it was new and it was kind of popular like on YouTube, and I was sort of trying to build up my blog and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna get one, and I got a present where I could afford to pay for it. So I was like, I'm gonna get a Joy. And it turns out I love that stupid thing. I mean, it's not stupid. It's so cute. I just love it. It is the car. It is definitely the machine that I use the most. I love that it's like tiny and portable. And there are like adapters that you can get that will let you do things like score with it and engrave with it. So it can really do a lot more than what a lot of people realize. And you know, there's a foiling tool for it. There's all kinds of pens for it, and there are third-party pens you can get that I actually like somewhat more than some of the Cricut pens that work in it just as well. And so it really is very multifunctional. Your only limit really is the width that it can cut. But since I'm a big card maker, that doesn't bother me too much. And you can easily make top folding cards and slimline, at least the layers for a slimline card with it. You can't do the base, unfortunately. But then I'm also think a great thing to do, really anybody who's got any size of cutting machine, is to have a paper trimmer separately and a scoring board so that you can really cut your own card bases. It actually can save you some time rather than having to have the machine cut out the card base and do the scoring, especially if it's an easy score, like just straight down the middle. That is something I do a lot just to save some time, especially if I'm only cutting the card base out of that one color. I will sometimes just cut my own on the side and score it myself. And that way I've got it and I don't have to wait for the machine to do it. And then if you have a Joy and you can't make certain sizes of card bases, you can make those larger card bases really easily and then just cut all the like elements for it on your Joy. Sandy, how did you get my name at Black Sheep 303? 303 is the area code for Denver where I live. And then I'm the black sheep of the family. So that's why I'm called Black Sheep 303. It's actually Black Sheep 303 Creative is the whole name, but Black Sheep 303 is kind of what I go by on most social media, and that's the website too. So am I a spokesperson for Cricut? Now I want to join. I am not. I have absolutely no relationship with Cricut. I am not a big enough blogger for Cricut to have anything to do with me, unfortunately. Hopefully that'll change. Maybe you guys can help me with that. I wouldn't want to be, honestly, because Cricut is, from what I understand from other people, they're very like, you have to be exclusively for them, and I am not interested in that. Like I really love my scan and cut too, which is I'm backwards here over here. And so I do tutorials on scan and cut machines and the Silhouette Cameo too. So I'm not sure I would be willing to give those up, especially the scan and cut, to just do Cricut stuff. And then I'm also pretty honest in like reviews that I do. So I am not always like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And I know that that's not always what Cricut wants. So, so I probably wouldn't be the best fit. Although I really appreciate them. I think they have great products. I am more of a fan now than I used to be. I used to have a Cricut Expression way back with the cartridges and everything. And I liked that, but you know, I had some issues So, so I'm a much bigger fan of like the Joy and the Maker. I don't have an Explorer, but I do know what it can and can't do. Like I have a materials and troubleshooting guide where um, that I sell on my website that I give you like the settings to use for a ton. It's like 130 materials or something, including like fabric and all papers and fancy other stuff, vinyl. And what's my point? See, I'm getting old, so I'm losing my train of thought here. But that's how I've become really familiar with the Explorer machine too, just from kind of doing the research on that. So I'm fairly familiar with the things that that can and cannot do as well. Belinda, what is my opinion on the 2x2 card mat? I have a maker. I don't love the card mats, I'll be honest. Um, and I especially don't love that one. I really have a lot of issues getting the cards and the designs on the cards to line up correctly. You know, you can put the card on exactly the way they tell you to. And then I don't think I've ever even once had it cut correctly on that actually the Joy mats either. Um, I can kind of monkey with it to like adjust it. So I've learned sort of with experience like how to put the cards on the mat to figure out exactly how to get it aligned. Or I use my paper trimmer and I trim off the excess. I also find that 2x2 mat to be really, really sticky, at least initially, which maybe that's to offset the like lack of stickiness on the Cricut Joy mat because that one loses its stick pretty fast. But you can restick it because I have a video on that too. Resticking the card mat, you can do it. So it's good. It's good and it's bad. Like I like that it's convenient to put like a pre-made card base in it and just cut stuff out of it. But the alignment I think is not the greatest. And as you probably know if you watch my video, like I am kind of a nitpicky person in terms of card bases. Like I really think your card base needs to be a heavier weight cardstock than what those like insert and cutaway cards actually are. So when you put like the insert into them or the cutaway panel on the back, that helps increase the weight of the card, but that doesn't help your inside. So the card's going to have a hard time standing up. And so the solution for that really is to put like a second panel on the inside of your card base in those scenarios, kind of like we do with the pop-up card where we layered two lighter weight pieces together. That'll help stabilize those cards, but that's like an extra step that you have to take to make those cards. And, you know, that's good and bad, depending on how much time you have and how much extra work you're willing to do. But I'm pretty good with extra work on cards. I tend to jazz up those like insert card designs because I find them like a little bit plain. That's probably another reason that I have those multi-layers on the front of my cards because I like seeing like extra colors and extra interest. At Brandy's Card Maker Success Summit in February, part of what I showed was how you can jazz up a card, use it, but you've cut with your machine using more traditional like inks and markers and sequins and things like that to just make them a little more special. Because sometimes those pre-made designs, especially some of the insert card ones, not all of them, but some of them can be really plain. And I like my cards to be a little bit more special than those sometimes. Wow, the color seems to be going in and out. Jenny, I really enjoyed your class. Good. Do I have any other color cards you can hold up and show us? Oh, good Lord, yes. All right, I'm going to show my graduation version one more time just because I love it so much. So that's with the bonus sentiments. Here's a layered slimline card that I designed. That's on my Etsy store. Here's a spider Halloween card that I've done. Here's the Pet Sympathy card that I did for Brandy's Card Makers Success Summit in February. This is a card I have coming up in June during the Scrapbooking Fun Summit that actually holds a photo on the inside, so I'm not going to give away too much on that one. Here's another Halloween card that I made some monster feet, and I put them on springs so they can bounce. Here's a cherry blossom card that I did for Bet Dow's summit in the spring, and has some dimension to it. Had like a thanks on the inside. And then I have kind of a whole series of cherry blossom cards. Like here's the tiny version. So if you think that pop-up card has a lot of tiny details, like this one is a little bit worse. But you know, I try to keep it fairly simple to put them together. Here's another cherry blossom card that's much simpler, but kind of dimensional. And then this one is like a cherry blossom tree. And like this would be an example of like if you look at those tiny, tiny little cuts in the blossoms there, that is where you really have to be using smooth 65-pound 176 GSM cardstock. There is no way that anything heavier than that is going to cut this out. So if you're having a lot of frustration with your cards, with the paper tearing or things like that, that could be what's causing it. Here's another one. This one I did for Abby Kirsten's Cricut Craft Fest in the spring. This is also on my Etsy store, and it has a dimensional butterfly or dragonfly, and it comes with a little dragonfly envelope. I've got this is a layered rainbow card, slimline card. There's a Christmas card. This one you can only get by taking my holiday workshop. This one is a leaves card design. This actually has some traditional stamping stuff on it, so the one they actually sell is a little bit different. Here's some like hearts, Valentine. I like slim lines, as you can see. For some reason, I've got all my slim lines here. Here's like another fall card, like leaf card that I did. This one's free on my resource library, so that one's kind of cute and free. Where is, oh, and here's one of my favorites. This one has a removable ornament, so you can actually hang this on your tree. This one I did for Bet Dow's holiday summit last year. And coming up during Brandy's Card Makers Success Summit in August, I will have my VIP bonus will be for a holiday card class with me, and we will be making this card, which is another layered card. Here's another version of it. So that's it's similar in that we've got this like multiple layers on the front to give you different colors that show through. Here's another one, snowflakey card. That one's very blingy. The color we're doing in the card class for Brandy's summit is a little bit different color palette, but that shows you how you can change it up. And then we'll be doing the ornament card too, this guy. So I'm kind of a slow creator. I have to apologize for that. Like, I am not a person that can crank out like a video every day or a project every day, especially because I'm trying to, you may have noticed like the things I'm doing are a little bit more complicated than some designs that others do. Not necessarily, but and I'm kind of a perfectionist. It's a bit of an issue. I'm working on it. So it takes me a while to like get everything exactly the way I want it to. and want it to look so that it's easy for you guys to actually use them and make them. Because that's my goal. I want it to be like a cool card design, but also beginner friendly so that you don't have to have a lot of experience to be able to make the things that I'm putting together. Some patience maybe, but not a lot of experience. All right, any other questions? I'm a cardstock nerd. Marsha, are you in design space so people can, I am not. Sorry. A lot of this, like the things, I have a resource library on my website, which is blacksheep303.com, and it's a work in progress. Most of the things there are simpler designs than what you either get as a freebie at a summit or what I sell on Etsy. Just like I wish I could do everything for free, but I can't. Susan, which brand white for cuts that tiny? Are you in the US or Canada? If you're in the US or Canada, I highly, highly recommend Michael's Recollections cardstock in the 65-pound 176 GSM for those tiny, tiny cuts. It works great for me. That's what I do, like these really skinny lines with the black are all done out of that cardstock. It works really, really well. Like this guy that has skinny, skinny lines, and you can cut that out of that Recollections cardstock, no problem. It works really well. What else have I got here? Got all kinds of stuff over here. It's a mess. Hey, Teresa. What is my favorite cardstock for Cricut? Like just in general? I love the Michael's Recollections cardstock for the lighter weight things. And then for card bases themselves, I like the heavier weight cardstocks. I really like Gina K Designs and Simon Says Stamp. Those are my two favorites as far as like good quality, really nice colors, and heavyweight. Concord and Ninth also has some really, really nice medium weight, like 80-pound, that I will often use, and some really in cool colors. So I will often use that for the items on the layers that aren't as delicate and complicated as like those really thin lines and things like that. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, okay, that's a wrap. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. I had fun talking to you. I hope I answered some questions. And you can always email me at elena@blacksheep303.com if you have more questions or need help with anything. Thanks.